What if I told you that behind every fine bar of Scharfenberger chocolate lies a battle between demand and capacity, between growth and preserving its quality? Today, we're exploring a fascinating business case that challenges one of America's finest chocolate makers to make a critical decision. Can Scharfenberger scale up production while maintaining its signature quality? My name is Oscar Ramos, and I will gladly walk you through it. Let's find out. First of all, let's get to know a little bit of our protagonist, the industry that we're playing in, and the business behind this challenge. Founded in 1996, the company builds its reputation on crafting the highest quality chocolate from beans to bar, blending 7 to 9 different cacao beans for each of their products. At least, over the past 18 months, the company has experimented a rise in demand that shows no sign to slowing down. As a matter of fact, by the end of the year, they are already expecting a 30% increase thanks to a mass market retailer eager to sell their products across the nation. Naturally, success brings challenges. That's why the company has already tried shortening the processing time for each of the stage within its 27,000 square feet warehouse. Sadly, those attempts failed to preserve the brand's hallmark quality. From an industry perspective, the chocolate industry is segmented in two main categories: the mass market and the premium. The mass market segment is worth about $14 billion, highly concentrated, with 3 large competitors holding around 75% of the market share. The growth in this segment is relatively flat, being around 1 to 2% per year. While there are hundreds of mass market chocolate products, the star offering remains the milk chocolate with a variety of add-ins, typically selling at about 35 cents per ounce. In contrast, the premium segment is smaller, worth around 1.2 billion, but it is considered the industry's growth segment. The dark chocolate is increasingly popular, driven by a growing appreciation of the quality and a broader retail availability. Premium chocolate can be sold for anywhere between $10 and $100 per pound. For these case purposes, for Scharfenberger, the main competitors in this space, particularly in terms of taste, include the high-end European makers such as Valrhona, but also other well-known brands such as Godiva and Ghirardelli Lindt. From a business perspective, we already know that the company offers around 80 different chocolate products to the market, being the 3 ounces bittersweet bar their most popular. It is stated in the case that the company has seen exponential growth, with sales skyrocketing from 1.1 million in 1999 to over 15 million expected at the end of 2005. The problem here is that retailers are demanding even more, and production is struggling to keep up. We can anticipate now that the main issue to solve in this case is how can Scharfenberger increase production capacity while preserving its reputation and its top quality. Let's dive into the production process to identify where the bottleneck is and what we can do in order to fix it. Scharfenberger chocolate making process is meticulously elaborated to ensure top quality, as already mentioned. But this complexity also limits its own capacity. Let's break down the key steps in order to understand the whole process. First of all, the beans pass through a large bean cleaner that removes impurities at a rate of 800 kilograms per hour, recovering about 96% of them, which is indicated in this inverted triangle. The clean beans are then placed in labeled units until they are ready for roasting, which is the second step of this process. Each variety of bean is roasted separately to optimize flavor. The roaster handles 250 kilograms per 75-minute cycle, around 1600 kilograms per day. And then the beans cool on racks for another 15 minutes. After cooling, the beans go to the winnower, which separates the nibs from the shells. The nibs were sent on the production and the shells are discarded. It has a capacity of 3,600 kilograms per day, working during a 8-hour shift, 7 days a week. After it, beans were stored in label bins and transported to the mixer or manager. Here, nibs are then grounded, releasing cocoa butter and forming a chocolate paste. Its daily capacity is roughly 1,472 kilograms. Once ground, the paste is stored in tanks until enough accumulates for a full 1,400 kilograms conch batch. 2 conches use alternately refine, mix and aerate the chocolate. Each 1,400 kilogram batch spends about 50 hours in a conch, giving a daily capacity of around 672 kilograms in total. The finished chocolate liquid can be stored for several weeks or even sent to a third-party finisher. At the end of the process, in this step number 6, there is tempering and molding. This step shapes the final product at a rate of about 2,240 kilograms per day. And finally, last but not least, is the packaging. In order to keep an eye on quality check, Scharfenberger performs only the 35% of packaging in-house. The rest is shared with a third-party provider after we consider the finished good. With all this data mentioned in the case, we can calculate very important parameters, such as cycle time, installed capacity, outputs, and finally, to identify our bottleneck. As you can see in this table, the conching process has the lowest production rate, primarily due to its long 50-hour-long cycle time. This makes the conching our bottleneck, restricting the total monthly production up to 40,000 kilograms, or in equivalent on conches, in 29 conches, exactly the figure that Mr. Harris mentions at the end of the case. We also know that there is another machine that could help fixing this current bottleneck, and that's the ball mill, by reducing the 50-hour conching time to a combined 15-hour process. So let's run again the numbers. If we include the ball mill's performance within the conching stage, we see a substantial increase in capacity from 672 kilograms per day to 2,240 kilograms per day. But here's the tricky part. Compared to the other processes, the ball mill plus conching is no longer the bottleneck. Instead, the Malinger now limits our monthly production up to 44,160 kilograms. This means that even after investing in the ball mill, Scharfenberger still can fully leverage its new capacity. Therefore, further adjustments are necessary to unlock the plant's full potential. One of the questions that we have to answer in order to help Mr. Harris to make the best decisions for the company is whether getting the ball mill is a smart decision from a financial standpoint or not. We have all the information we need stated in the case. We know that an additional ball mill costs $300,000. But we also know that for an additional conch that we are able to sell, we can get in revenue additional $30,000 with a contribution margin of 40% according to industry benchmark. So if we know that our second bottleneck gives us an additional 2.5 conches per month, we just have to multiply the numbers and divide them by the total cost of the equipment. By doing so, we get that the ball mill has a very short payback. Just in 10 months, it will be giving us a positive return on investment. So from a financial standpoint of view, this is a very smart investment. This is not the end of the story. We know Mr. Harris is also evaluating capacity options at other stages, potentially adding a second Malinger and preparing for an increase in demand of 50%, 100%, or even 150% by 2006. Now, our task is to help Mr. Harris determine whether Scharfenberger can realistically meet these ambitious production goals without sacrificing quality. Let's explore our possibilities. In the first scenario, where the company faces a 50% increase in demand and wants to optimize capital as an important fact, let's start just by adjusting the hour shift in various processes. This might be cheaper than adding a new machine. If we add only one extra 8-hour shift from the cleaning process through the mixing, we can raise installed capacity by 50%. However, the Malinger is still our bottleneck under this setup, limiting our monthly capacity up to 66,000 kilograms, or its equivalent in conches, around 47. In the second scenario, where the company faces a 100 increase in demand, let's consider both acquiring a second mixer and extending all production processes to operate at maximum hours, since adding just one machine still isn't enough. As we can observe, even after doubling the Malinger's capacity, the ball mill and the conch process becomes once again our bottleneck, limiting our monthly capacity production up to 48 conches in total, well below our market needs. Since we're not able to answer and meet these goals of 100%, it's nonsense to try to get 150% for the next year. For final thoughts and conclusions, we can conclude that Scharfenberger can handle only the first scenario, where the demand increases by 50%. If they want to do more, they must either increase installed capacity with new or more efficient equipment, outsource non-essential processes, manage the demand by adjusting prices, selecting clients, or even projecting new orders. But of course, these alternatives comes with a downside. But also, the case is very useful, so we can remember and learn the importance of keeping every process aligned with the mission and vision of the company. In this case, the focus on quality. Also, the importance of monitoring each stage of production closely and consistently. And last but not least, always identify and try to tackle our bottleneck. Thank you very much.